In holy matrimony, the matter of the sacrament is the spouses themselves, the man and the woman who are free to marry and who are properly prepared, intending marriage. That's the matter of the sacrament is the spouses themselves. The form of the sacrament is the exchange of consent. So once you have the man and the woman, once it's established that they're free, then what's necessary is that they exchange marital consent. And when the consent is exchanged, then you have the sacrament of holy matrimony. So I say that the parties have to be free. The man and the woman has to be free. They can't be impeded. There can't be anything that would prevent them, such as, for instance, very simply, a prior marriage bond. If either one of them is married, has been married previously, and that previous marriage is in fact valid, then that means that they are not free to proceed with marriage. So they would not be able to. They themselves would not constitute the valid matter of the sacrament of holy matrimony. You can also be impeded, not free to marry, if you're being coerced, if you lack the discretion of judgment that is required, the sufficient discretion of judgment which is required for intending to enter into marriage. If you're compelled by fear, if you are any of these reasons would invalidate the consent. You would not be someone who is free to marry. So those are just some of the basic things that are necessary. The marital consent, which is required, what's being consented to is marriage, which means that, and this is established ahead of time very clearly at the moment. It's certainly written down formally ahead of time, but even in the moment itself, it's established publicly. Marriage being a public reality, so it's witnessed by the church's minister and by two other witnesses who can attest that the parties that have come to be married are here freely and without reservation. They both attest to that themselves. They have come freely and without reservation to give themselves to each other in marriage. They also attest that they will love and honor each other as husband and wife for the rest of their lives, and they both independently attest that that is their purpose. That is what they're going to consent to. They also attest that they will accept children lovingly from God and bring them up according to the law of Christ and His church. This is also attested to, affirmed, and without any contrary intention against any of those. There's no contrary intention against fidelity, as if, or permanence, as if this marriage, as if there's some sort of an intention that this marriage lasts until one of them prefers to move on elsewhere, or after a certain amount of time. That would be an intention against a marriage, and that would invalidate the consent. The same thing with children. There can be no intention against children. There can be no that would invalidate if the purpose is to prevent children from coming into the marriage. That would similarly contradict. That would be against the purpose of marriage. So at the time that the consent is exchanged, these are the intentions, and they're expressed and articulated clearly. At which point, then the spouses proceed with exchanging consent, and so typically the one they can they go. They don't do it at the same time because you want to make sure that it's very clear. So a father, for instance, will propose and ask them to say "I do," or he will offer them the form which they can repeat after him to recite and to say. But it's heard clearly on the part of the witness, the church's witness, and the other witnesses who are there, and they'll say something like, "I take you to be my husband, to be my wife. I promise to be true to you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. I will love you and honor you all the days of my life." Once both of them have expressed that clearly and articulately, then you have in fact an exchange of marital consent, and you now have the sacrament of holy matrimony, which is the reality of which is a bond which cannot be dissolved. It's come into existence now with the exchange of consent. It is made intrinsically indissoluble once the bond is consummated, say on the wedding night. But nevertheless, you have a sacramental bond which is indissoluble, which cannot be dissolved. No power on earth is able, not even the Pope, to dissolve the bond of holy matrimony. And this is except death. Death is the power that dissolves the bond, and that's anticipated when as the couple says, "I will love you and honor you all the days of my life." So this bond is a source of strength and grace. It derives its indissolubility and its strength from the very love of Christ, with which Christ loves his church and lays down his life for his church, and gives life to the church through his own gift of himself. So that's where the strength of this bond comes from, and that's what gives the couple hope that they are and assurance that they will have the grace to persevere in good times and in bad, in being true to each other and loving and honoring each other for the rest of their life, in a way which is also fruitful. So they can hope for that God should bring children, for instance, into their marriage. As I said, they can't have any contrary intentions. So any intention against fidelity would strike at the heart of the marriage. It wouldn't dissolve the marriage. Adultery or infidelity doesn't dissolve marriage. It injures it. It hurts it very much, of course. It can wound it terribly. It can even, for practical purposes, make a marriage such that it can't really proceed as a sort of a healthy way of the spouses living together if there's such abuse and injury. But the bond will continue to exist until death, and the bond will exist as a source of grace and strength for them to seek the forgiveness, for instance, if that be the case that they require. Same thing with children. There can be no intention against children. There's no abortion. There's no contraception. There's no sterilization or vasectomy that a couple might subsequently think that they can now go back on their intention to be open to receive children, but rather that openness to accepting children is always present in their marriage, and so this is just a brief introduction to the sacrament of holy matrimony. Any questions or comments? Feel free to indicate that and to let me know. This is the 40th, or this is day 21, I think, of Catechism in 40 days. If you like it, go ahead and leave a comment and pass it along. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.